Please excuse the mess. The SonarFeed appears to be having a few difficulties.
Welcome to Sonar. Wait, breaking news. The Seahawks have traded Lamar Nagel. Repeat, breaking news. The Seahawks have traded Lamar Nagel. Welcome to episode 151. That's right, 151. Let's go.
Yeah, well, no, we're not doing 151 shots tonight.
No, none of that.
That would be not. No. We're not cougars over here.
Only our special guest gets a shot of that.
Yes.
151.
I might be a cougar.
Are you a cougar too?
Oh, really?
Oops.
Maybe.
I'm starting off the show good. don't forget. Last week I announced I quit drinking for good. And I only drink
You
for
only
evil.
drink for bad?
I only drink for evil. It's a Dr. Evil meme. It was awesome. Anyway, so here we are at episode 151. La segunda Presidenta.
Yes.
Edicion.
Yes.
So you are the second Alliance Council president we've had on, and I believe you're the second Alliance Council president ever.
Ever.
So we've had both now on. Paul was on.
Saving the best for last.
And now we have the current reigning
Love you, Paul.
president. Welcome into the show. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
Thank you very much.
At Stein AMO008.
Steinamo.
Steinamo 008.
Yes.
008.
You didn't go 007?
I didn't.
Why not?
One
It
better.
would be disrespectful.
One
What?
better.
Yeah, if you
One better.
watch the movie,
Yes.
he is upgraded by a 008 agent.
That's funny. I didn't. That's.
There's
Is that why you
levels
did
to
008? though?
Dropping
Hell yes.
knowledge.
Look at that. All right. I am Aaron Riley, a.k.a. Sonar Riley.
Boom.
Cross from me.
Hugo Garcia, a.k.a. at Mi Vida Seattle.
And joining us for the first time
In a long time.
in a long time. Not this
Yeah.
first time this year, I don't think. But the first.
No,
No, because you were here this
second time.
summer. You were here this summer. Is good old Kyle
At-
Gerv and O.
Yes,
Right?
Gervano.
at Gervan O.
Yeah.
At Gervan 0. GIRVAN 0.
There you go.
On Twitter. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So it is. There's one topic we're not talking about tonight.
I know. We all know.
So we're not talking
We
about
didn't
it.
even talk about it, but we all
Yeah.
know.
So we're not talking about that. But what we are going to do is that we are going to do our normal intro.
Yes.
Then we're going to jump into there. And what Stephanie, we talked about it before a little bit. You're going to answer some questions from an editorial perspective,
Sure.
which are your opinion. And then you're going to answer some as maybe the president of the Alliance Council, if you can, and if it's appropriate, specifically talking about maybe like the GM recall vote and all that kind of good stuff. But so just so everyone knows, I want to lay that groundwork now. There'll be some things that you'll answer personally and some things you'll answer professionally, so to speak.
Sure, and I'll try to remember to explain
Your
which one it is.
Perfect.
Right.
Great. Thank
Nice.
you. Just so we don't get in.
You can always be like, personal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personal. Yeah.
pro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
Let's
should have
go.
hats. She could put a hat on if it's
Yeah.
personal.
Have a little
Hat on
sign.
if it's a pro.
This
yeah.
opinion is
Yeah.
personal. Let's go.
All right. So before we do that, you haven't been here in a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
How's
have
life?
a new baby.
Yes.
Congrats, Daddy.
Thank
Yeah.
You very much. Thank you very much.
So I've heard when you go from 1 to 2, it's kind of like you're in zone to man, and then when you
Yeah.
go to 3, it's like just all bets are off. Is that fair?
A little bit, yeah.
What do you mean
think
all bets are off?
We
I don't
had,
get
we
that.
had a boy first and then a girl.
Yeah.
So 3 was just like the bonus prize. We were just kind of didn't really matter,
Yeah.
We already had one of each, so
3 was the bonus prize.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of
Those
nice
cherry
too.
on
Already
top.
having clothes and everything else, save some
Bonus.
expenses on
Yeah.
the child.
Absolutely.
So you just get to sit and enjoy the kid, and all your parenting stuff is pretty much.
Set.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of know what you're getting into by the 3rd kid. Hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully you know what you're getting into by the
Right.
3rd
And
kid.
and
so-
right now she's not moving much,
So not
obviously.
ever-
No, that's
So-
the best time
yeah.
because you just hold them and yeah.
Yep, exactly. But come a year or 2 from now,
Oh,
what
no,
I
then-
meant was then it's going to be chaos because
Yeah.
we have 2, and we have 2 parents.
Yeah.
So one takes one takes the
Yeah,
other
they're
one.
gonna outnumber us.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're screwed pretty
Yeah.
much in about a year.
Dude,
year or
that's
2.
how my parents
Yeah.
were. They were screwed. They had 3 of us, all
3 boys.
Oh
It was
my.
intense. My
Yeah.
mom was like,
That's
she did a lot to hold us in check. Let me tell you, man. Hats off to you, mama.
Hey,
Te quiero mucho,
kudos-
Te quiero
kudos-
mucho.
yeah, Hugo's mom. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's-
intense, dude. And
I
she
mean,
was
I
the one
think-
that really did most of the grunt work, because my dad was out working a lot.
Right.
So she was the one that got the brunt of us. Te quiero mucho, madre. Okay, I love you. I love it, you. Yeah.
Appreciate
So
you
so
for-
other than that, life's good. Obviously, that's
going
good.
great, man. Yeah. I finally got my schedule around. The place I work is a little difficult to change your hours.
Yep.
That's how I'm able to be here tonight.
Let's
It's-
go.
Yeah, back on day shift. So,
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes.
We're
Thank
excited to
First
have
time
you
in
back,
what, 2
man.
years? 3 years?
Yeah,
day
about
shift?
3.5.
Yeah, 3 okay, yeah.
3.5 years.
Let's
About when we
go.
started.
Yeah, I used to have to take days off to come out. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Good.
Excited.
Hugo, how about you? How's life?
Life's great, man. Seahawks kicked ass yesterday. It was an amazing
Oh, dude,
game.
that was incredible.
Best game of the year, peaking right where you want to be. I hung out with my coworker, from the first time actually outside of second time.
Nice.
But hung out with them, watched some Seahawks. Spent a lot of time with my dad in his awesome nativity set. If you haven't seen it, check out my Facebook page. The video of it is legit. Wow, and it's very traditional in Jalisco, where I'm from, in Guadalajara, to make very large and detailed nativity scenes, but not large in size, but more in scope and in details. And so he has over 100 figurines of sheep and animals.
Now,
And
does he make them
It's-
himself?
it's
or does-
sweet.
he's bought them over time in trips to Mexico
Oh, okay.
and around town, around here. He'll add pieces left and right, but he'll do dude, it takes him a week or so to get this thing, man. He'll go out to the yard, get little moss from the roof. He'll get grass. He'll get little
Oh, cool.
rocks and incorporate it. And I'll show you the video afterwards. It's
Oh,
intense.
wow.
Yeah, and he set it in his fireplace.
Oh,
So
Yeah,
he's-
so it's
he's-
actually in the
That is
fireplace.
cool,
yeah, and
So-
he hates technology, but he actually took my phone, took photos. He's like, Mijo, can you make a video of this?
Nice.
Yeah,
It was cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you were hanging out with him Saturday
Yeah,
morning.
pretty much all day. We went to
Yeah.
Penny's last soccer game. She technically scored. That coach that blocked the kick. Why would you do such a thing?
Wait,
Why
a,
would you block?
a coach?
Coach?
A
Blocked the
coach
kick?
blocked. Well, yeah. So
Well, because at that age, the coaches are actually on the field with the players.
yeah, exactly.
They're, because they're,
Oh,
you-
They're
you
5-year-olds.
five.
She's 5.
So, yeah.
And the other team had this kid who was above and beyond, really good. So that kid was getting all his shots blocked. So it's not like a 10-0 game. The kids get
Right.
discouraged. But the team that's pretty much getting pounded on, my niece breaks away, and she's a cherry picker. She's such a cherry picker. I love her.
Is there no offside?
No, it's
Oh,
5-year-olds.
beautiful,
So
yeah,
she
yeah.
picked it up right away. She's the one that I'm gonna just score the goal. And I'm like,
Explain
Penny.
this, yeah.
I scream, Penny, come over here and help. Come over here and help. No, I score. I'm like, wow. And she'll just stand in the 18th and just wait for the ball to come to her and
Yeah,
take
yeah.
it in. So she shot and she technically scored. Had four goals this season. Did great. So that was a
Nice.
lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, man, so doing good. Played a little game, except for that one game that was horrible. Played some games with you online. That was.
Yeah, we played some Star Wars Battlefront, and then we played Grand Theft Auto.
Don't ever play that game. It's the most horrible video game in
Which
the
one?
history of Grand Theft Auto.
5.
Oh God.
No,
that's
because
horrible.
somebody doesn't know how to play the game,
no.
and the
somebody knows
tutorial
how to play
took like an
fine.
hour and a half.
The tutorial was ridiculous.
He
So
plays the
stupid.
tutorial.
And then,
Stupid.
so then what I did is I went on SharePlay with them
Yeah.
for like an hour and a half, and I sobered up,
That's
thank you
rough.
very much.
Yeah, that's rough.
And I directed him how to do it. And didn't we finish it? We did.
Yeah.
Jerk.
Well,
It was terrible. And then the best part was I was
The
going to show
struggle,
him.
yeah.
I was going to show him my garage because I have all my Sounders, colored cars in there. And we got fucking griefed for like 30 minutes. They kept killing us.
Oh, really?
Oh, dude.
Man.
And now it's like 2:30 in the morning.
yeah.
And I got to be up. And I'd been out all day at my daughter's game,
Yeah.
and I had to get up
You're
at
so
7.
cool.
Oh my god, it was terrible.
Playing video games
terrible.
till 2 in the morning. Let's
Yeah.
go.
It was awesome. but-
Adult
Go.
stuff.
So
yeah,
adult.
we were
Let's go.
adulting. We adulted very well. Good. All right. So I want to talk. Supporter stories come out tomorrow.
Nice.
So there's some great folks doing that. We actually, the two of us did it.
Let's do
So,
it.
and I'm not saying we're the great ones, but the great ones are behind the camera.
But watch for us.
But watch for us.
Yeah, right.
But so they did 6 to start with, and I think they've done. And I know she's in the audience. They've done either 6 or
Let's
a couple
go.
more. 6 or 12. I'm sorry, 6 or 12 more. 4 or 6 more have been done and are ready to queue up. I think 6 are launching tomorrow, which is fantastic. So they're going to have that. And what they did is they basically have done a very intimate thing. Like Hugo was down at Pioneer Square. I did mine right here. Mariana did one down here. Sarah and Kyle did one over in Yakima. So lots of good.
Speaking
oh
of
yeah.
Shields.
Speaking of
Yes.
Kyle Shields, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
from
birthday,
the
Kyle
We
Shields.
Are Kyles.
Happy
They- oh, yeah,
birthday,
yeah,
bud.
Yeah.
The We Are
Let's
Kyle.
go.
Yes.
Yeah.
The We Are Kyle. So pizza's on the way. Just wait for it. It'll be there one day.
Yep.
I hear he's enjoying a
Eventually.
fine pizza
And cake.
pizza party with his folks.
Yes.
Nice.
Yep. So happy birthday, Kyle. But yeah, so there's 5 more in the can. So there's 6 that are being launched and 5 more. So 11 people have been interviewed. They want to do more, and so you can go to their website, thesupporterstories.com, and do your story of
Yes.
how you became a Sounders fan and or soccer fan in general. So kind of a neat little project.
It is, man, because it's like a cool oral history and video
Exactly.
history of fans' perspectives at that time. So it's definitely going to be something cool where 3-4 years from now, whatever, you can go back, check it out, and be like, oh, man, that's what it felt like back then.
Exactly. Yep.
That's
so I
awesome.
love it. So I wanted to give a shout out to them. That's launching tomorrow.
Boom.
You'll probably see like 8 million retweets from me because I'm excited about making that known because I think it's
You're
fantastic.
excited about people seeing you more?
No. No, so my face
Hear
guy.
my story.
No. I said I'll do it, but I was also kind of like, I didn't think I'd be in the first group of doing
I
it.
gotcha.
But then my face was the thumbnail from
Yeah.
the YouTube selected.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I was disappointed they didn't use the sad Hugo.
No, I'm so glad, dude.
Oh, in
the
the
sad
rain?
Hugo.
That's sad
yeah.
Hugo in the rain.
do you guys
kid.
have the sad Hugo in the
No,
rain?
no,
You need to
no
add
one
that
needs
in.
it. No one needs it.
Have you seen that?
Fantastic.
The one that lick it in hand.
Yeah.
That's the
So
best
emotional.
thing that
Ever.
ever happened.
It's his eating
Here
the
I
mic
go,
is good,
in
but that's way
in
better.
my
I think
mind,
you're
I'm
right.
like, I'm so badass. I just look up and I'm so mean and mugging Nelson.
oh, it's
man.
like a mobster movie.
So
Yeah.
sad.
Dude,
yeah.
it was
It
so,
is.
it turned
Oh.
to such a
Well,
sappy
and then he
gift.
did it the other way.
Yeah.
He did it in reverse.
Yes.
Oh,
That's awesome.
man, it gave me goosebumps.
Wow. Wow.
I stopped dating.
We
because
will
of
find-
I'm over here.
We should find a way to get you that, Adam, because that is like the best thing ever. That Hugo sad
No,
Doctor Who look.
Let's not incorporate. This is a separate thing of its own. I don't think
Okay,
every
when we do Hugo Part 2, then we'll do that.
Nah,
Yeah,
no
there
need
you
to
go.
do that. I think we have plenty of supporters to
We
do.
should see if they can put it on the board at S2 games.
Yes.
Before you know.
But
Yes.
no. But you know
Hey, Brendan,
what?
can you help that?
We should go into the introduction of our fine guest.
No. Wait. She'll come on just a minute.
No.
Yes.
No.
Just shut up.
No mas.
Which mic is yours? I think that's your mic. You're up next, I promise.
I'm not
But
worried
first-
about it. This is
Can
fun.
you hear?
First,
Can you hear? I think I got shut out.
No, I
Can you hear me?
turned it back on.
Oh, okay.
the last thing I want to do before we get into the fine guest here is talk about Lamar Nagel.
I'm looking out for you.
Lamar Nagel. I want to give a shout out to Chad Barrett too. He made a pretty clear tweet that he's gone as well.
Right.
He was released. We knew that, but it sounds like he's not coming back. So good luck to you, Chad Barrett. I know you're watching this probably.
Of course.
Yeah.
And
Chad,
Lamar.
It's been real.
But
Hanging out and.
but those
the
of
drinks.
you out there who are pro Gordon over Chad Barrett,
Alan Gordon.
Alan Gordon.
Just to be clear, Alan Gordon.
No
we're
way.
talking
Not Jeff
No.
Gordon. I
Jeff-
might go with
hey,
the chef.
I'll take Jeff Gordon over Alan Gordon, 100% all day long.
Lenhardt's bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. No thanks. No.
But then, so Lamar Nagel wrote a very nice letter today, posting, and then did
Video.
a great video. I'm
was
not gonna
quality,
lie,
man.
I
That
was
was
sitting
quality.
on my couch after I'd gotten the kids from school, and I did have a little tear in my eye when I was reading that. It was, and then watching the video, and then I read the letter, and I'm like, I got goosebumps. And then, of course, one of the best parts for us was that he mentioned SonarFeed and all that we've done, and by we, I mean folks like Kyle and Lonnie and everybody at this table. I mean
Jen
everybody.
and Max.
A million people.
Glenn.
Yeah, the people who've donated things to us.
The people that bottle the things.
Exactly. So, I mean, we've raised $13,000 with Lamar over the last 3 years for his charities.
The players.
I
the
know
players coming
exactly
out.
how much of that was mine.
Yes, you do. And we thank you for that, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
But it was so to get the call out was just something. Here we are, just a little podcast that has a lot of fun and come out and have drinks, and we care about the community, and that's one of our number one things in general, and that's why everybody in this group is a family and becomes a family member. And so for him to call that out and make a comment about that is fantastic, and it was great. And I wish the best to Lamar. My heart aches. He's a local boy. He's a 253. He's a Federal Way boy.
Totally, man.
We love him here, obviously, for
Federal Way.
obvious reasons.
There we go.
From being on the show.
I remember the first time he just walked in when we tweeted him, and he walked in right behind us. And I was like, dude, that's Lamar.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah.
And he had just been traded to Montreal, so
Oh, yeah.
happened to be in town. And now 3 years later, but
Yeah,
he's
been
literally
great
right
to work
behind
with.
us.
He's been
he's a great guy.
super friendly, and
Yep.
anything we needed, he's been able to pretty much help us with, and
Yep.
the access to him, and his actual care about the, I guess, the philanthropy that you see some people say, oh yeah, no, it matters to me, but in the long run, they make a an appearance just for a photo. This guy actually goes above and beyond, and
He was here for like 6 hours.
yeah, like he's
8
actually
hours.
out here trying to
To win too.
Yeah.
He was
no,
trying.
yeah.
Yeah, he did. He did
Oh,
win
I
it.
know.
He did
I
win
had to
it
play
the
him a
second
couple
year.
times, and he's
Yeah,
no
he won
joke.
the
Yeah.
second year. Yep. Jay Solo is undefeated in years he plays, and Lamar won the other year. So,
Yeah.
so we don't have. I'm working on contact with his manager, who we mentioned in there, Rich, to get the final word on what he's doing
What
and how
status
available he
is.
is. Obviously,
Yes.
with all the news that's coming out, we have to wait to hear from him. But my goal is this week to come back to the show next Monday and have an announcement of some sort about our show, about the tournament. We're targeting the last 2 weekends of January right now. There's no football competing on those 2 weekends. Well, there's a championship Saturday, so that won't be the Saturday, but it'll be the Sunday or the following Saturday or Sunday, so that we can avoid all that. But we'll have more announcement on that.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this guy, you
Wow.
know, he doesn't
Cupcakes
come
are
out.
good.
He's
Cupcakes
terrible at games, and then he just
priorities over
wants,
here,
like,
okay?
he wants
I
to eat
have priorities.
cupcakes and not listen to us talk
I have
over here.
priorities.
I'm happy he ate the cupcake and not the microphone.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
All right. So that's enough of the other stuff, and thank you all for bearing with us through that. But I just wanted to make sure that, Lamar, thank you so much for everything you've done. We're excited to work with you, hopefully, more in the future here.
Yep.
It's been fantastic working with you up to this point,
Yeah.
and we wish nothing but the best. Again, my heart hurts. My head thinks for him it's the best opportunity for DC. He has a wide open path in front of him. He doesn't have a congested midfield there, and the now extreme desire to win this year. It would have been hard for him to get minutes, I think, here. So he's 28. He can go to DC for a couple of years, do some good things, come back here, and finish out his career here. Hopefully.
Love that idea.
So.
Love it.
All right.
Here. Here.
Yeah.
Now let's go on to
To somebody that really matters. No, I'm just
Stephanie. How are you? The
I'm good.
president of the Alliance Council.
Yes.
I'm good.
Good. Excellent. Let's tell us about you. Who is
Yes.
Stephanie?
Who
And
is
go back as far as you want. Tell us about you before we talk about soccer and everything else. But tell what you want. Tell your story about who you are, if you want, as much as you want.
I'm just a girl in the grocery business. I never played soccer. I got interested in soccer because I dated my brother's coach. And
Really?
I swear to God, yeah. I dated my little brother's coach, and I used to work in an ice cream parlor when I was really young along Highway 50 when Stanford University was hosting the U.S. men's Olympic team, and I think it was CONCACAF and Olympic trials, and teams were headed up to South Lake Tahoe, and one day buses started unloading in my parking lot, and in walked the Brazilian national team. And
What?
soccer got really,
Really
interesting.
What?
And a day later, the Costa Rican team, I believe,
Wow.
and some South American teams. And then I used to go with my mom to pick up my brother at his practice. And the high school boys that were coaching youth soccer were more interesting than the guys that put on pads and helmets and threw themselves at each other. And so it was, then I got here. And I was an NBA fan. When I lived in California, I had NBA tickets. And when I got here, I couldn't really align with anything. The Sonics, had this huge emotional following, but they weren't that good. And I walked out.
Hold on. In the mid-'90s, they were pretty good. 94 to 97.
But I wasn't here then. I didn't
When did you move here?
I didn't move here until 2001.
Oh, you
At
came
the end of
for-
2001,
Yeah.
and
That was
so
a
in 2002,
downturn.
I lived close to Key Arena, and I was watching them run laps, and I walked out of some games. I really couldn't get
Yeah,
into it,
yeah,
and I was really
yeah.
hungry for something that was exciting. And I got invited to my first Sounders match and my first Seahawks game in the same week, and my first UW game, and I fell in love with the atmosphere at the Sounders match, and I haven't looked back. So
Let's
I went to
go.
my first match and called them up and put a deposit down on 4 tickets.
Wow.
And started wrapping up all my girlfriends as much as I could and started negotiating for a suite in the North End the very next day.
And this is 09?
This was 09.
Okay.
And so as soon as I had enough people to nail down the suite, that was what I did. And I had 17 women and 1 guy.
Nice.
Wow.
We nailed down that suite. And now there's a lot more men now. We couldn't, so it's changed. The people, not everybody could stay in as prices started increasing.
Like a boss, just organized everybody. Like, here, let's go.
We're going.
Let's
It's
go.
like, that's it, girls.
Yeah.
We're
I love
going.
it.
So when you look at a cost of a box or the suite, there is it prohibitively more expensive than say like the prawn sandwich seats, or is it when you break it down?
Slalom experience?
No.
So you're underneath the
North End
Hawks
suites.
Nest?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm right behind the North End goal.
Yep.
In the beginning, it wasn't, but the tickets have doubled
Go way
now.
up. Okay.
It's
You weren't an
I don't-
original season ticket, and they probably don't have that deal for suites anyways.
No, they wouldn't have that deal
Yeah.
for suites
Yeah, okay.
anyways.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is on a per game average, it's more expensive than you would pay a single game ticket. I know you have 18 people or whatever you have in there, but is it realistic? Is it? I mean, I don't want to try to ask the exact price because I'm just curious. I've never.
He wants to
I
organize.
negotiate.
Yeah, exactly.
I negotiate.
He wants to
hard.
slide. He
Yes.
wants to
Yeah, okay, there you go.
I negotiate hard.
There we go.
And I don't know what the other tickets cost.
Okay.
But it's difficult for me as a single person. It's not a business write-off
Yep.
for anybody.
No,
It's
right.
hard for me to hold on to them.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'll tell you that.
Okay.
It's hard for me to
That's
hold
what
on
I
to 'em.
figured. Okay. Good answer. And
So
I'm
I'll tell
unemployed
you-
right now
I'll tell
anyway,
you
so
how-
I'm not
I'll
doing
tell you
it.
this. I have walked away from a condo to hold on to those tickets. I now have a roommate for the first time in 25 years, and there's going to come a point in time where I can't hold on to those tickets.
Damn.
Wow.
There you go.
GoFundMe?
Go find me.
Oh, shit. Keep Dynamo behind the goal. Yeah.
Well, if we win the MLS Cup this year, when we win the MLS Cup in 2016, then we'll have to keep you there. So.
A good luck thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. We talk about that within the suite. Like,
Yeah.
if we get to the cup, do we want to sell that match and try
Oh,
and finance the following season?
Oh, you could probably finance the entire year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, one
It's
game,
something we're gonna have to talk about.
Yeah,
because
that's
I
a
don't
great
know that
comment,
we'll
yeah.
be able to- I don't
Oh
know.
my God, that's such a hard debate.
it's a Seahawks question,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
I had season tickets to Seahawks years ago when it was reasonable.
Don't remind me, man.
I know, and you're paying
Don't
now, and
remind me.
you're in the
I had
Hawks
somebody
nest.
come up to me with 10 grand in cash in an envelope on my way into the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I said no.
I probably would have said yes.
Was that $10,000?
Well, it was my.
Yeah.
No, I think it was
Yeah.
6. I'm excited. It was 6 grand, but still, that was like 3 times as much as what the ticket was worth. More than 3 times as much, actually. Yeah. So.
Do me a favor.
Release the crackle.
Plug in your cord for me real quick.
We got crack.
Let's do it.
Hopefully that's better. I got to go back and get new
Amazon
cords.
delivers within the hour.
Yeah, not down here,
I
unfortunately.
used that today.
By drone?
How was it?
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine too.
It doesn't work down
I did
here.
it at Thanksgiving, and it was fantastic.
The Prime now doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, really?
No.
Not in Renton. They're not
not
delivering.
right.
happy?
Not right.
You're out in the
no.
boonies, man.
All right, so that's a little bit
my
background to
story.
you.
My story.
When did you join the Alliance Council?
I couldn't vote till 2012, and so my
Okay. Great, 13. And you became so 13. Okay, yeah, that was my first year too. Yeah. And then when did you join the? I know the answer to this one, but when did you become president?
this year.
This year. Okay. Here in 15. Okay.
Let's
and you are
go.
president officially until the end of January.
Well, technically, I'm president until the very first meeting. So I'm
first meeting.
president until I run that first
So
election.
I'm sitting next to a president right now, folks. Just so you know.
Now, as somebody who is now off his term, am I off my term already, or is it my term open until the first meeting?
I thought we were on the same
Schedule.
schedule.
Now that you've gone to any meetings.
So if
or
we're on
anything.
the same schedule, then your term ends on January 31st.
There you go. Okay. Good. Okay. Damn it. I thought I was done already.
You can just be done if you want to be done.
Yeah.
Just send me,
Well, I can't.
send me an email.
I'll send you an email. Because I'm going to do it now to get it out of the way. I'll fax you. I'll fax you. I'll fax you.
I'll fax you my letter.
I
more
love
official.
I love the Alliance Council and I love what it stands for. That first meeting I ever attended,
my
fuck you,
God.
Hugo. Let me do this. Shut up. Turn your mic off and shut up. The first
a
meeting I ever
drink.
attended, and I know that was actually one of the questions you guys had asked on the at the meeting. It turned me off tremendously that the first meeting we had a meeting about Tuesday. Tuesday was selected. We had a Saturday meeting or Sunday meeting.
Yeah.
And Tuesday was selected as the meeting date for people. And I know that before that, I had heard stories about how horrible the attendance was, and it was awful. And there was supposedly a majority of people who voted for Tuesday. I never saw the actual results. We never saw them. And then the very next meeting, so at that meeting, there was a ton of people there. And the very next Tuesday meeting, no one showed up. Like 12 people showed up or whatever. It was terrible. And then it was a low attended period. That somebody who travels and someone who has kids, it was terrible for me. So had I known that going in, I never would have run. And when I see people running now, the first question I ask them is, can you do Tuesday?
Yeah.
So I love the fact that there is a date that's set there. My term, unfortunately, was at a bad time where, for me, it was frustrating.
Yeah.
I couldn't be there. Literally, I think I was home one Tuesday the entire year for this year, and I had something with my daughter, and I'm not missing that.
Yeah,
for
that's exactly why I published it.
Yeah.
I put it on the website because when I ran, it said you had to go to 4 meetings a year.
I never even saw that.
That's really different than monthly meetings.
Yeah,
so I
right.
updated the website.
Yeah,
too.
good. So
let people
again,
know.
I just wanted to say that and get done
Yeah.
with it. I'm over it. I'm done with it. But I loved it, and I wanted to do more, but I couldn't. And if you're not at the meetings, you can't be involved as much as you want. I mean, in my opinion, it's hard to do that.
Yep.
So.
If you're not at the meetings, you can't vote.
Exactly.
Right. Correct. And then what I did find that first year, because I made as many as I could, and that job I had, I scheduled my own travel, so I could do it. This next job I had, I couldn't do that. So the first year I made every meeting but one, because I was out of the country, and but what I found is that whenever we did an owners meeting or a special meeting, everybody showed up.
Of course. How about that?
And it pissed me off, like, to no end. I was like, fuck, I mean, that's terrible. Come on.
It should be like whoever attended the most regular meetings gets to sit in the special meetings.
Well, that's what you guys did this year. And so I was home for the 2 special meetings this year because they were home games. I didn't come, even though I didn't even know that rule existed until I saw it on Twitter.
Well, it actually goes into effect next year, but still.
But I self-imposed on me that I didn't go to those meetings because I wasn't at any of the other ones. And I'm like, I'm not going to show up just because I can. Anyways, I'm done. Okay, I'm stepping off my hashtag scheduling soapbox. Thank you, Sarah. And I'm gonna go home now. You guys. That's all. The only reason I came down tonight was to get on my soapbox there. That I wanted to be more involved, but I just for me.
What you're talking about is exactly why I updated the website.
Yeah.
Because I walked into my first meeting and found out we had monthly meetings, and when I was running for council, it said we went quarterly meetings. That's a big difference.
It is.
Yep.
So the website's updated so that when somebody runs now, it says first Tuesdays.
Exactly. And that's great. And people know that going in. So if you're going to run, we'll gladly put our
Are you running?
No.
Oh.
No, I can't.
Okay.
I just can't do it. I mean,
All right.
there's no way I can guarantee that I can be there on Tuesday.
What about you, Kyle? Oh.
I just finally got first ship, man. I couldn't make the game.
Yeah.
True.
But
But I think a large part, the importance of the Alliance Council is having that information out there and having, kind of knowing what you're getting into. You know, at the
absolutely.
get-go. Plus, also people who aren't, season ticket holders like myself, being able to see what goes on behind the scenes and what the Alliance Council is all about and how important it is to the decisions during game day. I don't have season tickets, but I try to make as many games as I can. Although I don't have season tickets, what goes on with the Alliance Council does affect my game day.
Absolutely.
You bet it does.
Which is why in September of 2012, I guess it would have been, I ran, and within 24 hours I got elected. I got my 25 votes because I was super. Well, I'm Twitter famous, so that helped.
Now, one thing you should know is if you participated with a season ticket member on their account and you went in with them, you could be designated on their account. You don't have to be the named owner. You could be the designee, and then you could run for Alliance Council.
And I think what the Alliance Council can do and is doing and working towards, I said it before the show, before you even got here, I was talking to Kyle, I think it's maturing, and I think it's finally coming into its own, and I think a lot of that has to do with your leadership this year.
Thank you.
And I didn't tell you this because I didn't want to surprise you, on the air, because that's always
You
good.
just did.
I know. But it's a good, to me, I think and again, this is not a thing about Paul or anything, I think it's just a natural progression of the group in general. But you are like you said, you're a good negotiator, you're a good hard driving in a good way going forward, and I respect where it's going and where it can go, and we'll talk about that in a minute here, because you do bring that level of maturity to it and that organization and what you do in your professional career.
I build organizational structure for a living.
Exactly.
It's part of what I do.
Boom.
So to take a look at different organizational structures.
Yes.
There's a lot of things I do for a living. Negotiation is one of them, but walking into different businesses, taking a look at what is there and what needs to be done, listening to the goals that the business owner has, and then figuring out what's the map that it's going to take to get there is a huge part of what I do.
Yep.
Building that strategy, that's a huge part of what I do.
Yep.
So,
operational excellence, it's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yep. So, real quick side note. Hagen was the worst. Was that the worst disaster ever? Were you involved in that? Hopefully not.
Well, I was involved from watching it, but it was a disaster on
cluster.
so many
levels.
Everybody blames Hagen, and I feel so bad for it.
Right?
It was
somebody made a shit ton of money on that.
Well,
That's all
the
I'm saying.
investors. So Hagen was just sitting there being a really happy company.
Yeah.
The investors that own Hagen decided they were going to buy a whole bunch of real estate and make them Hagen.
Yep.
So those guys up in Bellingham they were just sitting there fine. Maybe they wanted 2 or 3 stores. They certainly didn't want 120.
Yeah, no.
And then the FTC said, "Oh, hey, we're going to give you 100 days to convert those."
Yeah.
So
That's
that was
ridiculous.
a disaster. So and it keeps going.
The construction guys made a bunch of money. The investors made a bunch of money, and that's about it. So.
Yeah, and the investors I don't think have made any yet. They'll make them when they turn the real estate. So it's
terrible.
painful.
Oh,
A lot of
man.
people are going to lose their jobs.
A
and
lot.
it
Well,
hasn't-
it already did. My
My
neighborhood.
dad did.
and
My
it's
dad
it's-
did, but he
it's
found
not-
another one,
It's
so
not
it's
over.
okay.
It's not
No,
over
it's
yet.
not,
There's
no.
probably
Well, then
there are
they're basically
thousands
done.
more.
It sounds like Hagen might be
Yeah,
done.
but even the supply chain hasn't hit the supply chain yet. It's going to keep going.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's the business I'm in. So we've got hundreds and thousands yet to happen. So
Man. Okay.
it's not fun.
Sorry to go on that side note, but I just thought of that when I
hang on
realized.
a second. I need alcohol.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Aaron is
fits
the
right
cause
in.
of all the alcohol issues here. All right.
On that note, cheers.
Cheers, Stephanie. Let's do a cheers to Stephanie.
Here's to layoffs, and let's hope they're
Yeah.
not mine.
Let's go. Oh, yeah.
All right. So, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on tonight is talking a little bit about what the Alliance Council's done, specifically around the GM vote
Okay.
currently. So, it was. This was the first end of season meeting I haven't attended because I had conflict with kids scheduling, and there was a lot of things I want to go into on that meeting. But one of the things I noticed after the fact was I was following online, and from the official account I got some things, but I don't really follow the official account for that reason. I follow everybody else, and I saw a lot of good stuff coming from you guys. But then when I went to watch the video, I didn't unfortunately see the result of that. So this is a good opportunity, hopefully, we're going to post this.
Okay.
So people can see it later. So if you want to talk a little bit about the GM vote, 'cause that was, I think, the biggest. Is it fair to say that's the biggest thing that was worked on this year?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
From the Alliance Council perspective.
Yeah, that was a hell of a lot of work.
Okay.
So, so I'll back up just a second. If you
Yep,
go
go
to
ahead.
the Sounders page, our charter is posted there, and the original rules surrounding GM vote are in the charter, and they're pretty loose because, they were written. Oh my gosh, 8 years ago maybe. And for everybody who's texting me, I'm not going to stop and read the texts. I love you, but I'm a little busy right now. So hugs and kisses to all of you. I'll read them later.
Well,
so
real quick.
if I suck, sorry.
Halo
I'm
Girl
gonna read 'em
80.
later. Okay.
Halo Girl 80, which you know, obviously. She says, we're Chromecasting Stephanie to the big screen tonight. She's
Nice.
far too fantastic to do on the mobile device. Hashtag beauty and brains.
Oh my God.
So, very, very good.
No question.
And then Sean's watching. He said, it's nice watching. His bowling's over for the season, so now he's able to watch too. So
how
anyway, so
awesome.
we have some good comments
we love
coming in.
them.
So, but go ahead.
I pay Halo 80 to say those nice things.
Yeah.
She's my agent. So the rules were kind of loose and they were a little bit vague, and we never expected. I mean, Adrian was the general manager, and we didn't know that there would be a general manager coming in outside of the term cycle. That just wasn't expected. And of course, Adrian worked for nothing. And so it changed everybody's thought process when Garth Augerway was hired, and he was also hired in as more than a general manager. So we had to come up with some rules and a definition for general manager and all kinds of stuff. So the first thing we did was go out there and try to get to as many people as we could through conversation, through social media, through comment threads on Sounder at Heart. What do people actually want? What do they expect? And overwhelmingly, the comments were give the person 4 years to prove themselves for a general manager vote. But they also didn't want the Sounders to be able to just continually can people at 3.5 years. Oh, we don't like where it's going. 3.5 years, no vote. We don't like where this is going. 3.5 years, no vote. So we realized that recall, we had the assumptions, and there had always been public conversations that we could recall, but there were no rules written down. So GM vote was actually pretty easy to get through. People expected 4 years, but recall hadn't been written down, so recall took a little bit longer. So how it goes right now, we have a little bit under 40,000 votes possible. That's the number of season tickets we have. So every season ticket is worth a vote.
And that's assuming all of them are designated, though, right? Or for the GM vote, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's right. Never mind.
GM vote is weighted,
That's right.
so if they're designated or not, every ticket is worth a vote.
Okay.
40% of the votes have to be cast in order for the vote to be valid. And then to take action, it's a supermajority. It's 67% of the votes cast.
Okay.
So 18,000.
To take action.
16,000.
So
16,000.
So
if it's of 39,000, 40% have to be cast. I think that's
16.
It's like 15, 16, yeah. Call it 15 for easy math.
Yeah, and then 67% of those, if they say if those
Like
are in favor
9,
of
10 grand,
booting
10
them,
grand.
booting the person,
Yeah.
then they're out.
Okay.
Right. So it's not a ton of season ticket members to remove somebody from the position. It's not horrible.
Right.
So that's really a pretty generous way of saying season ticket members can vote somebody out.
Yep.
And there was a little bit of controversy online with people who didn't understand the math. I thought that was a super majority of the stadium.
Yeah, math is hard.
It really is, actually, yeah.
So, and then recall can happen after 2 seasons have been completed. Recall begins with the Alliance Council votes to go forward. You know,
Yep.
is the cause for recall bona fide? We
Right.
don't like where this is headed. Two seasons have been completed. We're nowhere near getting to the cup. You know,
Yeah.
things are headed the wrong direction. And there's actually a sliding scale attached to how many people need to vote, and that's how many people are on council. So the
This is
smaller,
really thorough.
yeah, smaller the council is, the more people need to vote
Okay.
to say this needs to go forward, and then the alliance votes.
So so just to back up, just to restate it. So the council, after 2 years,
2 complete seasons.
so 2 complete seasons. So we've finished 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 16. If we're sitting here 1 year from right now,
Yes.
and it's been a disaster for whatever reason, just whatever.
It would be the beginning of 17.
So in the beginning of 17, the council could sit down and have a vote to do a recall, to initiate a
then
recall.
it would be an alliance-wide vote.
Okay, and how much? What is the? I'm sorry if you said it. I didn't hear it. What percentage of Alliance Council? It's a sliding scale. I know you said.
It's a sliding scale.
Okay.
It's actually in here.
She's all prepared. She brought notes.
Love it.
She brought multiple copies of things. So we'll let her.
it's-
There you go.
I'm going to let you read it.
Okay.
Do you have a light over there?
I do.
You might have to.
All right. So if there are 0 to 34 voting members on the council, 80% must vote. Good luck getting 80% of the people at the meeting. Oh, I say that out
That's
loud.
why we
Whoa.
That's why we have an attendance bylaw.
I know.
That's exactly why.
No, exactly. I know. I love that.
Yeah,
No, that's
because
good.
I mean, and the reason for that is you could stack the council with people who don't show up to prevent that from happening.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. And I love that. I'm just
Yeah.
giving you a hard time. But yeah, so 80% must vote, and 67% of the votes must be in favor of a recall. So that's not a, you can't just willy-nilly go, we're going to do it. It's something that seriously has to be considered. And this is back to where we'll come to in a minute, but you were talking before the show about how this sets up the council for being more mature and be more important.
It's not
more,
a club.
It's not.
It's-
Yes, it's not
it's
a
not
club.
a club.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be more able to actually make decisions and be
It's an
more
operating entity, yeah.
Yeah.
proactive.
Yeah, it's not a
than
club.
reactive. Yeah. So okay, if you have 30 to 50 members on the council, then 75% must vote and 67% must cast. If you have 51 or more, 70% must vote and 67% must be in favor of the recall.
So the 67 is consistent. It's the
yes.
number of people who need to vote.
So that's great. So that's fantastic. I mean, to me, that again, that takes it to the next level of being obscure. And now Kyle can go, all right, so now I got Aaron, just if I was going to run again, Aaron voted not to do a recall the last 3 times, because I assume, potentially, if we make that public, I don't know if that will become public, but Aaron did not vote for the recall, so I'm not gonna give my vote to him, because I want
He's not following what I would like
to see happen.
He's not
Right.
representing
Yeah.
me.
Not representing me.
It's just like
Yeah.
with an elected official. You want to know
Exactly.
what you're voting and make sure it aligns how you feel on the sideline.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So that's great. I love that. That's a fantastic
Sounds
rule.
official.
Good job.
Great job.
Good job.
To the whole council.
The whole
I'm sure
council, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
contributed, and there was a
Yeah.
lot. Is there?
Yeah, this was Cameron and I with
Yep.
Taylor and Maya.
Good.
And
Yep.
you know, and when Maya walked in for the first time, she said owners want this to have teeth to it. Otherwise it's
And
not
that's
credible.
Maya's the attorney.
Yeah.
Maya is
She's
is
Fred's
general
sister,
counsel.
Fred's daughter.
Fred's daughter. That's right.
Yeah.
Because Fred was on the Fred
Maya.
Mendoza.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
general counsel for the club.
Yep.
And she also was the one who helped us create the definition for general manager.
Great. And
Can you invite her to the show with you next time?
Is there going to be a next time for me?
Oh, absolutely.
No question.
Already.
No question. 2.0.
He's
I
trying,
just
to,
had your
he's
cupcake.
trying to get rid of me, and he wants someone new to be with him. So
I just had your cupcake, so yes.
As
there
long as
will
you bring
be
cupcakes, yes.
Plenty of next times.
So that's a key point, though. I want to back up and say, because there's been a lot of negativity relating around the front office recently, and you said that the front office wants teeth. They want to have teeth in this. They want to
Yeah.
make it real. So it's not just a publicity stunt. It's not just a
Marketing.
club.
Yeah, I think
They're real.
There's been a lot of negativity. I think there are different attitudes among different people in the front office, and
Yes.
you know, it's when you've got a front office that's that young.
Yes.
There's a lot of attrition too.
Yep.
So there are a lot of people who don't even know what we are.
Yeah.
And that's just when you've got a really young, really lean organization, that is normal as well.
Yep, absolutely. That's why a lot of startups are a lot of fun to work in, because
Yep.
they have the same problem, or same
Yeah.
same good thing too.
Challenge. Opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity for success. Yes. All right. Do you guys want to ask a couple questions here, or do you want anything else? I guess we'll actually before you. Is there anything else on that part of it that you wanted to bring up on the GM vote?
I think we've got that one covered. Mark, can you think of anything that I neglected? Okay.
Is it true? I'm gonna ask one more question before I hand it off. Is it true that Mark is gonna wear his elf outfit to every single future Alliance Council meeting?
He did make that commitment, and he said every meeting, which means he'll be at every meeting.
That should boost attendance.
Oh!
I'm rethinking my ability to rerun for next year.
We need someone there to snap pictures.
Voting resets on January 31st.
There you go.
Which means you can, if you got your votes in 24 hours last time, you just need to get your schedule handled.
You had
can
an
get your votes
amazing
in 24
article at
hours
the beginning of
next
the
time.
year, telling people about the council and why to join. It was a great article. I can't remember where it was on. But
On
it
my
was,
blog?
Was it your blog?
On the council blog?
There you go. We should have a link for that.
Lawyers and writers and prayers. Oh my, probably that
And
one.
I think we do have a question.
I do have a question. How much of the negativity and the change in the office is associated with the breaking away from the Seahawks?
I don't think any of it has to do with the Seahawks change. I think there are some people who want the council to be strong, and some people who probably don't want the council to be strong, and some people who don't have any idea what the council is. And maybe when they hear about the council, we've just interrupted something they were working on, and I'm not sure I would like that either. You know, so there's all kinds of stuff going on. And if you've
Different
ever
angles.
spent any time, that office is full of a lot of really, really hard-working individuals.
Yes.
Really
Yes.
hard-working individuals.
It is a neat concept. Even if they have, it's not something that you get at other teams or other.
Sports, or they teach you
Yeah.
about in college.
The
Yeah.
Alliance Council is unique.
Yeah.
It is unique to South.
Yeah, and sometimes when they hear from us, it's because we're mad, and that's not always a great experience either.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah.
One of the things I've seen a lot of people ask about is accessibility to the council. What's the council doing on a weekly or monthly basis? What are their initiatives? You did a good job this year of working on the blog and making sure, and not just you, but the council did a good job,
Yeah.
better job this year.
Yeah.
But I think people want to see more communication rather than less.
Yeah, it's
From-
hard.
yeah.
The blog actually is me. I paid for that. I set it up. You'll
Out of your
notice
pocket.
It's out of my pocket. So that has to get fixed. We talked about a budget. We don't have one yet, and it was one of the questions I answered on stage. Is not having a budget the biggest challenge? it isn't the biggest challenge, but it is definitely a challenge. We have to find a way to solve this, because when I leave the council, if that isn't solved, the blog goes away. I'm not going to continue to pay for it if I'm not on the council. But I know it was the right thing to do, because those blogs are read about 500 times. So it's reaching people. Meeting minutes are really dry, and they don't tell enough of the story. So the blogs are read about 500 times. The meeting recaps are read about 300 to 400 times. Carl writes those, and those have quite a bit of detail in there. I think getting the actual person's vote into the meeting minutes or somewhere in the recaps, I think that would be a really good addition in there. I think that's a great suggestion. I'd love to see that happen. Because then at least there's a record of it, who voted how, and I love that question, and then people can go back. But the fact that it grew. So, we posted blogs in the beginning, we posted meeting recaps in story form in the beginning, and they used to be read 275, 350 times, and then it got up to 400 and 500. And the fact that I can even see that was just a happy accident. I didn't know that I paid for those analytics. I just logged in one day and it was like, oh my God, how did I get that information? And then I kept checking all the time, and I could see what links brought people there and what they clicked off on to go check, and that was really great information. So I've learned a lot, and I don't want it to go away, but these are things that we have to be able to solve so that it can continue, and I think that's been a really, really good learning experience. And now we've learned that if we retweet that out, we can get those reads up to 600.
Yeah. And I won't be on the council, but I will definitely keep retweeting it, because I think to me it's, like I said, I believe 100% behind it.
Yeah.
I just can't commit to it right now. I hope to one day maybe, but I can't right now. So that's great. Now, how do we fix that budget problem? Is it because it's a fine line?
We need to know that the council can handle the money and handle the budgeting in perpetuity.
Right.
Not just this year, not just next year. It's got to be in perpetuity, because you got to have your shit together before you go to the Sounders and say, we're going to need $30,000 a year to manage social media, to place ads, to get the blog paid for. I mean, there's more to it than that. I want to get red cards and yellow cards in the stadium that is a did you know about the council. And I have been pushing the Sounders to get a letter in the season ticket holder box, because people don't even know what the Alliance Council is. So I want a letter in the season ticket holder box, because that's the one damn thing that every season ticket holder is going to read.
Absolutely.
That's where it needs. I know, it takes up so much space.
Yeah,
because a letter is the size of a bale of hay. Clearly, it's not going to fit. So, I know that.
Well, if you put it on regular paper instead of on a bale of hay, it might fit.
I know, but
that's your problem.
I'm not that smart. So.
Here's Aaron trying to stay on the. He wants to stay on the council.
If we get the other smart people in the room to start working on it, we might be able to make that work.
Absolutely.
But I think if we work on it for 2017, we might be able to get it solved by then.
And that's a great way to put it. Is that this is not going to be an overnight fix.
Yeah.
It needs to take time.
Yeah.
So I got mad. I need to step away from it, and I recruited smart people who aren't as mad as I am, and they can work on it then.
So what about something I thought of as you were talking? Instead of doing the
turn on.
Awesome. I thought you did it when you set it up.
At least you didn't eat it, man.
So instead of having kind of like a stenographer to take notes and everything else on discussion, what about doing a kind of like this, a podcast or Periscope or whatever, however you can get it out of the actual Alliance Council meeting? Some
of those things are possible, but we also cover some things that are confidential.
Yep.
So some of that can't happen. But the secretary, who's smoking hot, Halo Girl 80.
Halo Girl.
She does need to take those notes, because they are the legal record of the meeting. Also.
I didn't know that she liked to play Halo. Sorry. So just doesn't matter. You go out here. I mean,
right, because that is the thing. We found out a lot of information that couldn't be said.
That needs to happen. Yeah. But we've also talked about, and I really hope we can bring this to fruition soon. You know how Jackie Montgomery does her little snippets, and they end up becoming
Rape TV.
part of
Rape TV.
So it's possible that we could get Alliance Council members to do a recap of the meeting, and then it gets edited down. It becomes a
Boom.
3-minute thing, and it goes out there on Rave
Okay,
TV.
Great
That's
idea.
a
Awesome.
great way to
That would be
recap
awesome.
the meeting. Something really small. It becomes a link. It becomes tweetable.
Right.
We don't have a huge Facebook following. We don't get a lot out of that because we would need to create our own content to make that work. I mean, Facebook has really become memes. It's become
Right.
animated movies, and it's become memes, and we don't have the resources to create our own content. But Twitter, where it's all text and links anyway, we get
Perfect.
great
Right.
feedback on
Right.
Twitter. So
you
that
guys
would
just
work
need to get more
perfectly
cats
for
in
us.
the Alliance Councils.
Exactly.
Yeah. Get
You
cat
know,
video.
Alliance Council is pretty much the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people are doing way more than 80% of the work, so we need a lot more people.
Right.
So
No,
that 20% of the people becomes more.
Yep. Okay.
This year was exhausting. I don't want next year to be like this.
My
year.
oh my.
All right. Questions? You? Hold on. We'll go offline in a minute, but I know you had some things you wanted to talk about.
So one of the questions I always see whenever there's a meeting or any opportunity to ask the Alliance Council anything, one of the besides turf. For some reason, they always like to ask you about
Sure,
turf.
we'll fix the
Turf.
Yeah, right.
That's
Shag
why the Alliance
carpet.
Council was created.
It'll be shag carpet.
Perfect. Yeah. Is the season ticket holders get scarves at the moment? A big question is, can they change the scarves to a hat or a shirt or anything else like
Yeah.
that? Or
Maybe someday, but it's a bigger conversation than that, because if you envision the stadium at match day and it's scarves up, can you think of any other thing that could create the atmosphere that scarves up
Yes.
creates?
Flags up.
T-shirts.
You know, you could, what are you
what
going
are
to
you, San Jose?
Everybody takes
Did you
out
just
their
go
shirts
San
and
Jose?
goes like this
Flags.
during the national anthem.
Flags
There
and
you go.
tuples. Flags and
So,
tuples.
if you think about Scarves Up,
there, I
and you
said
think
that
about
first.
the
I already- yeah,
ceremony
I'm-
and the
I'm on that. I'm
ritual
on that.
of Scarves
On
Up,
it.
and it's a display of unity,
Flags.
and it's a display of dominance for the other team. It creates an
Flags.
atmosphere of letting your opponent know that they've got nothing going on in their stadium
Flags.
that is as good as what we have going on. There are very few things. There's very few objects of stuff
Right.
that can recreate what Scarves Up creates. So if it's really about the stuff for somebody, they're going to be just as bored with the new stuff, and they're going to want to change it up again
Every
after
year.
2 years.
Right.
And they're receiving the stuff with a completely different perspective than the stuff is being created. So maybe at some point in time, the scarf is going to be default and something else becomes secondary, so that we can still create that atmosphere.
Right. Right.
But that person that really wants a different piece of stuff is going to still get bored pretty quickly.
With anything you replace it with.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
and
so-
there's always the option to, with the scarf, you get to vote on the design you want. So,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
It's,
People tell me all the time, I don't need another scarf. Well, you never needed the first one.
Right,
It's not
right,
about that.
Yeah.
It's
it
not
it
what
really
it
is up there with the turf
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
It's something I see a lot, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
put it on record.
How about
Exactly.
every season ticket holder gets a big fucking flag?
That would be awesome. Even the mini flag.
Then let's all streak and run across the field with them
You heard it here first.
after Mark.
After Mark. Mark goes first, and then the rest of us happen. I'm going to do a real quick thing here. I want to get everybody to I don't know what's going on. I'm going to unplug everybody's mic here on the board for a minute.
Okay.
And if you can unplug, can you unplug hers too?
Unplug it. Got it.
I will do a test this week to figure out what's going on the mics and the cords. I think we're having some issues with loose cords.
Can you hear me
and,
now?
Hopefully you guys can hear
How
us
about
okay. Yeah. So about that, hey, go to patreon.com/SonarFeed.
There you
Perfect
go.
timing.
Perfect
that was
timing.
actually coordinated
Yes.
this morning, you guys.
Perfect timing.
I'm going to be up front. We coordinated this all this morning.
Sabotage
No,
the
no,
equipment.
Every
yeah.
No.
season ticket holder gets a BFF.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
think that sounds for best friends forever.
No, a big fucking
No.
flag. The big,
Big
fucking
friendly
flag.
flag.
Yeah, I
I
know.
got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Big friendly
All right.
flag.
Okay.
I did have a question, but it's going to be the last question for you regarding the Alliance Council.
Go ahead,
I think
Chief.
she asked a couple others over here. All right.
Is there plans for a Ring of Honor, either by the Alliance Council or for the front office?
Good question.
Oh, is there a plan
plans
for a Ring of
a
Honor?
Ring of Honor for players?
If there is, I don't know about it.
That's a
She
great
doesn't
one.
know. Okay, great.
Great question. What other questions are? Okay.
Okay.
Do you have yourself any questions or requests for our audience? Something that you'd like to tell us or tell the general public or share with us?
Don't send shitty questions to the end of your business meeting. Some of the questions are incredibly thoughtful and wonderful, and it makes me really, really proud to be a Sounder. And some of them are just awful.
Yeah, I just read some of
Making
them.
comments about a coach's weight are none of your business.
Yeah.
And it is if I'm president next year, I'm going to ask the Sounders to publish names. That maybe not
held
contact
accountable.
information, but
Yeah,
if it's about disclosure, then I want the Sounders to publish your names with your questions. Some of them are horrible, and I don't want the Sounders to publish those questions.
You heard it here first.
I'm ashamed of some of the things that people sent in.
Be kind, man. So,
That's your coach.
boom, respect.
And some of the things said about players, it's
You have to go through all the questions.
Once a Sounder, always a Sounder means all of us. I was ashamed of some of us.
Yeah, and let's stop asking questions every other week about turf versus grass and this and that. Those are I mean, I know you guys do a
Yeah.
good job of getting rid of them, but
Yeah.
but we also have to realize.
But
I mean,
the people who are going to watch this are not the people who are sending that in.
No, they're not.
But, yeah.
but
I don't know how many questions I've sent in, but I can assure you it wasn't making fun of any of the players
Yeah.
or coaches.
No.
He would never do
no,
that.
not that. No, I'm talking about the grass versus turf. But again, to be fair, what the reality
Is that you, Hugo?
there's the vocal minority, which we know because we're all involved in social media,
Mine's are
and
always
that is the
Latino related.
big vocal minority there that we're loud on
Yeah.
social media, and so but we think we're also the biggest one, but we're not.
No,
We're
we're
like
the-
we're
we're
the
really
1%
small.
in that case.
Yep.
The most of us on social media, and that's why they've said, well, we didn't hear anybody complain other than Twitter because it was the 1%. It was the very small amount of people who complained about things. So, Joe Roth made some interesting comments.
Yeah, about
and
that.
Barra, I thought, did a very good job. We talked about it last week a little bit as well.
Yep.
But Barra did a very good
Oh,
job
man,
coming
that
out,
reminds
making
me.
a statement. Then they had a meeting.
From
It'll
what
keep
I've
going.
read, that meeting went really, really well.
Yes, and I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
I know
There
somebody.
has already
Yeah.
been follow-up meetings with, and I can disclose, follow-up meetings with
Yeah.
client or community relations staffing.
Good.
There's been information on from HR department on their attempts to grow the diversity within the FO, job postings, things like that. So they're being proactive, and I think they've taken it seriously. They do want to work with Barra in better understanding how they can reach out to the Latino community.
Good.
So, yeah.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
You were sitting on stage when it happened.
Yeah.
Any comments that you have?
Well, I heard Adrian's gasp. So.
Which I think is an important point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I can't make any excuses for Joe. I think Joe just started rambling, and it would have been far better off if he just admitted he'd gone too far.
Yep.
You know, but he didn't. He didn't reel it in. It's the first time I've been up there for an extended period of time. I've given the council address, and then I've gotten off the stage. It's weird to be up there. It looks easier than it is. I can just say that. But I don't want to speak for Adrian, but it seemed like he was a little bit rattled. There were things that he was supposed to address that he had to apologize later when Paul got up on stage because he had forgotten to address them. That's very unlike Adrian. So I think he was a bit flummoxed, and it's incredibly unlike Adrian to forget anything or be flummoxed. So, going off script that way, that far, was not within. I don't believe it was within Adrian's realm of acceptability, and I don't believe the man was comfortable. I don't even think the announcement of Adrian becoming majority owner was planned. That didn't seem to be very well scripted either. Things like that generally are better scripted coming from that organization. So it was strange.
All right, so you were there last year, and of course Joe's known for just being able to be Joe, right? And that's what we loved it until that comment, right?
Yeah.
Because your mic's still off, right? For a minute. Turn it off for a minute. Yours is still off for a minute, right? Don't worry. I'm not doing it to get more airtime. I'm gonna let you guys talk. I want to do one at a time to get the feedback here. We're doing a little bit of live isolation here as we go. But one of the things we liked about it was that he was able to go off the cuff and be free and just kind of be whatever. And you were there last year. And you were in the meeting beforehand as well, obviously.
Yeah, this was my third meeting, but I've always been on stage and then sat off stage. I've never been on stage for the entire meeting until this year.
Okay. Okay, and so do you think that issue has been addressed then internally from what you've seen? Do you think it's going to be...
Well, I've only read what BARA has published on their Facebook page. It sounds like it. I've been asked by a few people, why didn't the Alliance Council make a statement? And there are, if you want me to address that, I can.
Why not?
Well, okay, so for the council, we have a system of doing things. For the council to make an opinion statement, somebody has to write an opinion statement, then we discuss it and we make tweaks, and then we vote on it a month later to make an opinion statement. And if we're going to make a large opinion statement, the club gets to speak on a giant opinion statement too. So we're out of session right now. The earliest we could do something like that would be February. It would be the 2016 council that does that. So what could happen is that somebody on the council makes an editorial statement, and that would get published on our blog. And I asked somebody if they'd like to do that, and it hasn't happened yet. So probably because of what's going on with BARA, they feel like it's been addressed.
Right.
But for the council to make a big statement, that takes some doing, and it takes more than 30 days.
Right.
It's
a
a
little
big
more
damn
calculated
deal.
than a
Yeah,
quick
it's
response.
the council operates as a council. It operates like a nonprofit board, like a political entity, and that is how that gets handled is outlined in our Constitution and bylaws. So you can go read online, what does it take to create an opinion statement,
Right.
and that process is outlined.
Okay.
So it really takes something to get that accomplished.
Thank you for sharing that answer.
welcome.
It's a very understandable answer. And being because of the subject and the sensitivity of the comments made, BAR leadership kind of moved Earth, Wind, whatever, to make sure there was a quick response before more time.
It needed to be.
It needed
to be quick.
But definitely understand that we have our own with BARA as a part of the volunteer leadership. There's a lot of time with things you want to say, so I definitely understand the processes. Question on Alliance Council: if you could start it all over and do something differently with the Alliance Council, what would it be?
I think I'd have at least 45 people. Have about 45 people is a good number. Then you can have good working committees and get stuff moving. And if you're going to assume that it's still going to be the 80-20 rule, that only 20% of the people are really going to do the work, 45 people still gives you 9 people doing the work. I think
Do you think you want to limit that? Do you want to have a limit to how many people are on the council?
you know owners get really excited. Oh, they want 300 people. They want this. They want that. I think that becomes really difficult to manage. I'm afraid if it were to get really large like that, then you'd end up with a large executive committee, and then that would get pared down, and you'd still end up with a 9-person committee that you ended up working with. You couldn't be in touch with that many people doing a bunch of work. So I don't know if I would want to limit it, but where would you meet with 300 people? So those would be quarterly meetings, and you'd still end up with small working groups actually moving stuff forward. But we need more people willing to get stuff done, because what happens is we are still down to 12 to 15 people who show up for meetings. Most of those people are not willing to actually do the doing that needs to be done. They're critiquing what gets done, either by the Sounders or by other people. If they're there every 2 or 3 meetings, they don't understand how disruptive that is, because they aren't there. So they're coming in and critiquing work that's been done that's really the equivalent of seagull management. And what happens after those meetings is my phone blows up for the next 2 hours because they've infuriated the people who did that work. So points that have already been covered at the previous meeting or previous 2 meetings get covered again. People who weren't there when they were covered tend to agree with those people, so they think they were right in doing it. And shit just starts all over again. So then people lose, they get disheartened because now they've heard this conversation twice, maybe they've heard it 3 times. It just gets old. And so then people stop showing up because they're sick of hearing the same stuff over again. And the people who caused that to happen have no idea that they caused that to happen. So if we could have more people and consistency in attendance, we could solve that so easily. That would be really helpful.
It seems like attendance would.
You guys
be
look so cute when you snuggle up like that. It's
attendance
adorable.
Would alleviate a lot of the
Yeah.
issues. Though.
Yeah.
Kind of to the core, attendance seems to be the most important factor
Yeah.
if you were going to be on alliances.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that would help
that-
tremendously. Have people and people willing to say this, whatever this is important to me, and I want to take this on. That would be really, really helpful.
And now we got to the crux of really why I left the council. No, I'm just kidding.
We've come full
All right.
His socks
His
just
socks,
didn't work
they
for
didn't work.
everybody else.
Every
He
meeting.
had to go.
They had a strict
He had
shoe
to go.
policy, Yeah.
Every meeting. I couldn't wear open-toed shoes, or I couldn't wear open-back shoes. That's why I really left. So we're having mic issues, and I apologize for everybody. Listen at home. I'll do the best I can to fix it, but I'm not sure what's going on. But let's ask some of our fun questions now, because we'll go back. We can talk a little bit more if other people have questions in a minute. But let's ask some of our normal SonarFeed questions. Favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Thin Mints.
Team Thin Mints. Okay.
Team Thin Mints.
Do you want to describe the cookies?
Who are you?
Do you want to describe the cookies for her again?
Yeah, I can tell you.
Team Thin. It's not going to change.
La menta de chocolate no es okay, pero lo que sí quieres es la Samoa. La
Not
Samoa
going to change my
tiene el
mind.
chocolate, tiene el coco, tiene el caramelo.
Who
Es
brought you a
exquisito. And it was delicious. Oh my God, that cupcake was so good. No joke. It was delicious. It was amazing. It was life-changing. No, that's good. You really are a good cupcake maker. I'm impressed. That was yummy. And going into yummy foods, what is your favorite kind of taco?
The best tacos I ever had. Street tacos.
Nice. Good. I like that.
In Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. What kind?
Short ribs with lime and
Ooh.
French fried shallots. What? It's worth a trip to go back just for that.
Shallots. I like that. That
Oh,
is
they
one of
were
the best answers
so
ever.
Good.
Seriously. It's better than just chicken taco.
No.
That is amazing. That's
No,
good
it's
quality
worth the trip.
taco.
Just go for that.
Do you remember the name of the place or no? By chance? Just curious.
No,
You know?
there was just
Somewhere
on the
in
corner.
Austin, Texas, on the corner. Yeah. Corners in
True.
Austin.
This is true. Yeah.
And the other question, music related?
Favorite musical? Our new one. This is our newest question we've
Priscilla,
added.
Queen of the Desert.
Really?
Yeah. That was a hoot and a half.
Oh my God, that's a great answer. I didn't expect that. Didn't expect that.
That was a hoot and a half. I loved that one.
Try adding your mic in.
Oh, okay.
Biggie or Tupac?
I don't care. They were both singing
she was
about
waiting for that
killing each
one.
other, and I really actually tried to like one of them, and I don't care. I was Pearl Jam. I was Soul Collective. I was.
So you're 90s grunge alternative.
Yeah, I was Wallflowers.
So you're Channel 34 on Sirius XM.
And then all the girl bands were coming up at that
Yeah,
time
L7.
too. So and Vogue and all that was coming up big. So I didn't care about it.
So Hugo and I have talked about this as we get ready for 2016.
It's time to retire that question.
Which one? Biggie, Tupac?
Yeah.
No.
Nobody cares. Everybody who comes
No,
to
it's
this
fun.
show,
It's
nobody
funny.
cares.
Asking Alan Hinton what Biggie or Tupac? I mean, come on. That
The
was
best
like
answer came from Ross.
Ross was great.
Ross Fletcher had
Yes.
the best answer.
Yes, he did.
Dude,
Yeah.
I love that she knows
Yeah.
that all.
I know.
That she knows all the answers on that question. Everything you watch is. Oh my God, let's go.
I posted a question online a few months ago about your favorite female-led artist, whether it was all female band or just whatever female artist, and the amount of responses I got on Twitter was amazing, and I captured them all. And so next year we talked about doing a segment where we talk about music, because we do it anyways, and so making it more official. And what I did back the first 3 episodes of SonarFeed is I did a Spotify playlist of music we talked about and music we liked. So we're talking about doing more of
Like
that
that,
again, going
yeah.
back to where we spend a little time between the week, kind of picking 2 or 3 songs, making a Spotify playlist or whatever service you want to use, whatever doesn't matter, and doing that because it's fun to listen to think about different kinds of music and stuff. So
What about
favorite director?
Ooh, that's a good one.
We added that one last week too.
Shit, I have no idea.
No idea.
I don't.
You're not
I
a
don't.
director. You
What
don't.
was the last movie you
No.
watched? At the movie theater.
that you can talk about.
Not Netflix and chill. Because nobody really watches the Netflix and chill movies. I'm talking about movie theater movie.
No, I just went to see Mockingjay Part 2 over the weekend.
Nice,
But I
what'd you
can't say
think?
nah. I wanted to see the end of the series,
Yeah, me
but
too.
I can't think it wasn't the best of the series.
Yeah, it was better than
I
the
haven't seen
second.
3 or 4.
The second was crap. The one before this one was.
Yeah, well, that
horrible.
was the third. Well, it was the third movie, but
Yeah.
I don't know who my favorite director is.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
what do you believe in that others think is crazy?
Ooh.
Well, I
SonarFeed?
posted about Thong Thursday. I was tweeting about
I missed that. What I missed? Hold on. So
Song
I'm
Thursday.
in the grocery business. I work with a bunch of old school grocery guys, so they're silly. And whenever I'm like, I need this, and they're like, Thong Thursday. You're asking me on Thong Thursday. I'm like, forget it. I'll come back on Free Fart Friday then, because we're not.
Friday.
No.
Wow. Wow. Your office.
We're terrible.
Yeah, that sounds like fun though. Or like
Grocery business is
oh
bad.
God.
All right, I had a general question for pretty much the whole group. How do you guys feel about the recent announcements of the roster movements for the first team and S2?
I don't think anything's a surprise. I mean, did you find anything surprising?
Hold on, repeat that again.
The roster movements.
Oh.
Yeah. For the first team and S2.
They're not as shocking as I was anticipating. I was anticipating more because there was major overhaul. There's gonna be changes.
Right.
I think someone made a statement of like, get ready, like. So it wasn't like, whoa. It was like,
The day after the meeting, they were saying it's going to be an incredibly active off season.
Right.
So I thought it was going to be
So far, I guess that's my
Scarier.
general.
Pretty open. I think with S2, I was a little surprised on some of the names that they chose to keep. Like, I guess a little disappointed how they handled Duncan. The
Yeah.
lack of commitment they've shown to their academy player that pretty much put the scholarship he had at Wake Forest aside to come play for S2, and they didn't make a commitment to him for at least the second year, even though he showed development in the first year. A little disappointed with them for that.
Put it out there, man. Say it.
I don't know. S2 has been a big disappointment for me.
Player development or the way
Just the lack of bringing in players for the team. It was sold to us as a team that was going to develop our academy talent, that was going to focus on bringing up the youth players. First year, they had one player on the roster that was from the academy. Second year, they don't bring him back. They've made no announcements for people coming in from the academy. They have a lot of players that have shown well in the first year. Absolutely, that they're bringing back. They're leaving the roster open, which is good. It shows that there's still room for them to add more people.
Right.
If
You
other
think
talent
they're
comes around, but the GM coming forward and saying that the youth is going to be their focus and their inherent lack of actual commitment to the youth is a little disheartening.
now when you say to the youth, you mean internally to bring it up or using our own academy players?
Yeah, I mean the fact that we have many talented players that came in through the academy that we no longer have the rights to anymore because we failed to comply with homegrown player rules for them, including one that will be in the draft this year that was a highly touted goalkeeper for a local college that we won't be taking advantage of. So
University of Washington.
that would be him, yeah. So
let me piggyback on that and say,
Great topic.
October of 2014, I was in Massachusetts. Actually, I was in New York, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, and I drove back at like 100 miles an hour back to my hotel room.
I don't think you should admit those things.
I did. Don't worry.
He
They've
talks about it when we hit the
Salt Lake
road
City.
to
If they've
Salt
watched
Lake.
my
Yeah.
ways or they've watched any of that, they've the glimpse.
This
They've
guy's
seen it.
crazy. We make
I'm a good driver,
13-hour
though.
No, you're great. I love it, and I don't have to drive, so it's even better. So yeah, we
Okay,
make.
I was
like
going 65 miles an hour on a 65 mile an hour zone.
because of him.
Yeah.
No, he's yeah.
No. I said she's saying I'm lying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So, but I rushed back to my hotel to hear the S2 announcement, and you were there at the
Yeah.
Chihuly Garden, and I think you were probably there too, for the Chihuly Garden Seattle Center. And then I told my wife after I did it, I begged for forgiveness in this case instead of asked for permission, that I bought a S2 membership and spent my $250, et cetera, et cetera. The organization,
With that included.
correct, without knowing, right.
Yeah.
But I think where Kyle is going, at least I'm going, is we had a GM and Adrian and the ownership. It was a very small group, and then in January or last year we added in Garth. Or Grant. Is his name Grant or Garth? I can't remember. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If Nathan's watching, hi Nathan. So Garth came in and he basically put a full stop on everything. It's come out now. And so my $250 that I spent was supposed to go into building the S2 monument, as if you will, for lack of a better term, improvements to the Starfire, and all that's on hold. S2 came out, and we actually had Andrew on. We've had the council on. We had the SCT.
We had the players on.
We had players on.
The coach.
But we had Paul and Kyle and Angelica on.
That's right, it was my birthday.
That's right. You weren't here because of that. That's right. Yeah, you weren't here. Which is why now you're on your own. You get your own special show.
Yeah.
But it was. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened, and I guess I'm answering your question while I'm saying all this. Garth said, "Hold on." We believe in Garth. I believe in Garth.
Yep.
I think that he'll get there. We've had an academy system that's produced some good talent that's been maybe not utilized in the way it should be. At all. Okay, at all. But Garth, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for the 2-year window or 3-year window even, personally, to say, let's see what happens this year and next year. Because I bought S2, I was all in and everything else, and then my schedule got screwed up, but I couldn't do it. I re-upped on my S2 tickets.
Me too.
And everything else, and I'm excited about it.
I'm surprised you did, to be honest.
I'm not surprised that they only have the 5 or 6 on the roster right now because they need to hold open spots. Somebody like a Dunks, you need Captain Crunch, you need to have somebody like that. You need to do that. I get that. Somebody like a Lamar, losing him, it's a business decision. I get it. It hurts. But it's kind of like you got to give him time. You got to give him time to kind of build that up. Now, if a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, we're having the same conversation, then it's lip service, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm done hearing you talk about it.
What do you think, Steph?
I know that doesn't make it better, but I'm just saying.
Let me get her perspective on this.
Okay, this is very definitely not an Alliance Council opinion, or certainly not the president opinion, and haven't
personal
talked to
fan
anybody
opinion.
at the Sounders.
Personal
so
fan
nobody over
opinion.
there. This is Stephanie Steiner talking out her backside. This is my opinion. I think there's a whole lot going on that they're keeping very tightly under wraps, and so when they said that they're not going to renew Ross's contract and they said it wasn't a financial decision, that's where I went bullshit, and I said bullshit a million times in social media. Before I say anything else, I love Ross. right? And I love Ross Fletcher. I've met the man. I adore him.
Me too.
I
There's a gif about that.
Yeah,
But
Hugo. I've never seen Hugo
almost-
so like
Does he have a man
tongue-tied.
crush?
Oh my
Oh,
God.
Dude, we just had that chemistry. You know? It's
does
kinda,
Ross know?
I mean, he knows.
Did you not?
Does Ross
you
know?
haven't gotten the paper served yet?
Yeah.
From
No,
Ross.
not yet.
So
Okay.
every decision in an organization that lean is a financial decision on one level or another. And Adrian said something really interesting on stage, and I'm almost hesitant to call attention to it because I'm afraid he won't say things like this more often. But when he was asked about Ross on stage at the end of your meeting, he said that there were 8 to 10 other people impacted, and we just didn't know about them. Ross is the public figure that we know, but there were 8 to 10 others that were laid off also. Right? So that's a big, those are financial decisions. Those are probably, I'm guessing, duplicated positions in at least some of them, maybe between S2 and Team 1, where they chose not to be separate entities because it was more fiscally responsible to be one entity instead of two. Or positions where they could consolidate, things like that. So you've been in their offices before, right? This is not the glamour center. It's if you walk around, when we have Alliance Council meetings there, or we had SCT meetings there, it's a very lean operation. We start our meetings at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. People are there working really, really late. When it gets toward the end of the season, we leave at 9 o'clock at night, sometimes 9:30. They're still working late at night. Everybody looks exactly the same. Young, incredibly fit, and exhausted. It's a lean organization. So on every level, decisions are financial at some point in time. And Ross had the audacity to be good at what he does in a position where they probably get thousands of applications. Probably thousands. So if it's not bolted to the ground, it's up for conversation. And if it is bolted to the ground, is it less expensive to consider having it removed? Is there another way to do something? Because they can't just raise ticket prices on everybody. They haven't won an MLS Cup, so they can't just elevate the prices on advertisers. They can't just raise prices on concessions because that gets passed down immediately to us and we know to go to fuel. Right? Or we know to go to Temple. So they can't just raise prices all over the place. They have to get really creative where that's going to come from. Ross was incredibly painful. It's one that we can see. There are going to be shit tons of other ones that we can't see. And if it's a really, really lean organization and they've got hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of young people willing to work there for next to nothing because the name on the door says Sounders, they're going to consider that because it's less expensive to consider that. And without breaking ground on a building, they know they're going to invest in a training facility somewhere that's going to cost a bloody fortune. Shit's about to get really, really expensive for several years.
Yep.
Before we see the results of that investment. That's Stephanie Steiner's BS opinion that she just made up.
Love
I
it.
think
that
that's
was
a great,
awesome.
No, it's a great
Let's
opinion.
go.
It's a
Let's
great opinion, and I think
There's
it does
everything
speak
on it.
to.
That's all good.
She didn't answer specifically your comment, but everything she just said from from a guy
Contributes.
who's been in that director of operations guy position for years, it's exactly the same thing that goes into it, and you got to give it that couple years. And I know but again, if you ask it from a fan perspective versus the reality perspective, and Juan Valdez says, S1 is stacked right now, and S2 is going to be huge turnover every year. But that's not what you're saying, though. You're not saying
No, right. S1 is stacked. I'm not saying that we need to infuse S1 roster at all with youth. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's what S2 is for.
Yep.
The turnover's fine in S2. That means that there's competition. Once again, the issue is that we're not having that S2 competition be amongst our academy products.
Yeah, he wants it to be
So
more
they're
internal.
going out. We have players that are currently trialing with other USL teams. Why aren't we trying to bring them in? We haven't even given them a look. We haven't called them. We haven't talked to them.
My guess is
Do we know
that
that. Do we know that for sure, though? Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Rephrase that.
Yes, I
You
do.
know that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Kyle knows that for
Yeah.
sure because
Yeah.
Kyle knows a lot of them,
I don't
and that's
know
a great
all
point.
those answers. I
Yeah.
think I remember being yelled at to go clean my room the right way. And the right way was you dump everything on the floor, dust off the bookcase, then put the books back, and it kind of feels like that's what's going on right now.
Yes,
It's
with Garth, I think absolutely.
Everything is getting dumped
Where
on the floor.
you're gonna look here in 2 years and you're gonna go, thank God Garth is here, because he's finally gonna
it just
give the
doesn't look
attention
like
it
that
needs
right
to.
now.
So a good
But
example.
if we don't say that in 2 years, I'm going to be furious.
So a good example, because Garth does say a lot of things that are the right thing to say. It sounds good to hear, but a good example of him going and putting action towards it was this draft. You could see the quality of his ability to see quality in the youth with who he drafted in this draft. We got some great talent out of this year, where in previous years, it's been a hit or a miss. We might have gotten 1 or 2 great players from a draft, but this year we got a lot of quality out
And
of
I
the
think
draft. So
this is just the very basic, talking up my butt. I think they're just gonna wait to see what they see at tryouts. Then
no,
I'm
absolutely,
saying?
and that's why they're leaving the roster open. I get that.
Before they bring up their own internal academy guys. That's just.
But that's fair. That's fair. But once again, with the comments that you make when you sell it as you taking care of your youth players, isn't that kind of a half step? Isn't
I
that?
can see that. I can see why you say that.
But I think the only problem with yes, it is. But at the same point, you're asking Garth, who came in after having taken over for Adrian, and he needs to take everything off the shelves, dust the shelves, and then bring everything
and
back
see
in.
what he has on his shelves.
So I think you got to give him a year or so. He's had great conversation. He's got great comments. He said we've had no talent, and we know we have talent, right? So some of his words have been not the best words to say publicly, because he basically dissed the talent before actually
who they are.
Right, before he actually got an idea of what it was. So because he said those early on. But anyway, but yeah, we can go on for this for like 3 hours. So we'll come back to this one because we can go on for hours and hours. Yeah.
But I love that question, man. Let's
Yeah.
go. Taking care of our people.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So does anybody here have any questions that we didn't get asked?
Yes.
Questions
here.
Questions
Let me
on
check
here.
on Twitter.
Zach Awani is the only person before Rodon that was actually a good draft that we had before Garth came on.
Yeah, which
And
was our super draft. Yeah.
right, exactly. And Garth did a great job in this draft. I mean, fantastic draft.
From the first draft to the last, yeah, we got quite a bit of talent.
Now we'll see in year 2. Can he still do that same kind of? Can he pull that same magic out of his hat?
Well, and also another thing that Garth's already added in a short amount of time here is now we have connections in Hawaii and North Carolina. Those are huge. Plus South Sound is another affiliate now. So he's adding things. Absolutely. That's not at all where I was trying to take a jab at Garth. What I'm saying is if you're going to sell people on a certain thing,
You want to see it.
follow through. That's all. And it hasn't. There's been no follow through yet. There's still time. There's still room for the follow through this year. Absolutely. They haven't filled the roster spots. They got tryouts to look at. Vegas is coming up in a few weeks or a few days. But their presence with the players, who at least the ones that I've talked to who are seniors currently about to leave college, has been minimal. Not many of them have said that they've been reached out to and contacted yet, which might be something that happens after tryouts, but it's a little disheartening to hear that they're not at least touching base with them. So that's...
Hashtag hire Kyle for your scout.
Yeah. Definitely. Scout.
This question is near and dear to my heart.
Kyle the Scout. Come up with a better one. Yeah.
SSFC Victory Lap, who was our first Patreon donor, thank you, by the way, asks, do you see the team working on bringing strong women into the front office? I think we need the ladies. And one of the things, I want to make one comment. One of the things we did, or we're trying to do on SonarFeed, is bring more of the strong woman element into the show. It's something that we didn't purposely one way or the other, but we want more strong women. We had Angelica on, obviously. You've been on. Kelly.gov's coming on next week. I want to next year, 2016, really focus again on that, because I think to me it's a diversity, and only not on our show, but in general with the front office. It's a great question.
Yeah. Great.
So what do you think about that?
I think Christina Bond would be a great guest for you.
That'd be a good one.
I think she'd be great for you.
Yeah.
We don't talk to the front office about their hiring, and they don't talk to us about their hiring because it's, not really copacetic for them to talk about that agenda. But when I'm in the front office, I definitely don't notice that women are lacking, and the women I meet are not meek.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not meek. So I interact with a lot of women in the Sounders front office. In ticketing, Megan West runs
Marketing.
MatchPass. She runs the whole year-end business meeting. We'll be working with her a lot. We're going to be heavily involved in the year-end business meeting and what we want that to be. And it might not be a year-end meeting. It might be a year-long meeting. And she's no wallflower. So, and Maya Mendoza is general counsel.
Yeah.
So I don't see it becoming an initiative. It's just always there. And one of the things I can say about Sounders, which is not always the case in my career path, I work in the old boys network. I never feel diminished being female in my interactions with that organization. If I feel diminished, it's for something entirely different. But it's not because of my gender. And I don't ever feel like I can't speak up. I just do speak up. So,
And that's why we love you.
Yep.
Thank you.
True.
So on that note of the business meeting, one of the questions that was asked, Mel asked, sorry, I just lost it here. Great. Good job, Aaron. I had it up. Here it is. Mel Metzger asked, why doesn't the Alliance Council insist upon business meetings being after the MLS Cup?
We don't want it after the MLS Cup. People disengage. So the meeting has been moved to November for a reason, because
Last year and this year only, these 2 years.
Yeah, that was done intentionally because people disengage. After MLS Cup, people are Christmas shopping, they're on with their holidays, and attendance was terrible at that time. So
Seahawks football.
So it's in November because you know you're in the playoffs, or you know you're not. So people know where their season is headed. And you either know what your record is and you're in the playoffs, or you've been booted out and they're pissed off. So you want a heavily engaged group of people at your end of your meeting.
Yeah. And going back to the strength of the ladies in the front office and team, I mean, and I'm not just saying that 'cause she was my supervisor at S2. Shout out to Lauren, but no, honestly, I was really impressed by just the way that she managed the game day operations of S2. It's a really stressful, there's a ton of moving parts, and like you mentioned, they work really hard. They wear multiple hats. They do a lot of things that I'm doing as a 35-year-old banker, but they're doing as 23-year-olds coming out of college and working. So they're really talented, and they do work hard. And I'm not just saying that because I do interact with them, and I work with her in S2. In our meetings with the front office that we had recently, there was a strong female representation. Yeah,
if I ever get the $6 million I need to fund my business, I would raid their office.
Yeah,
in fact, Adrian should give me my $6 million and write into the contract that I can't hire anybody from his office.
We can work on that for you. Mark wants to know, and this is probably a question you can't really ask, but has there been any discussion with more affordable sitting sections with the season ticket holders for the club, specifically sitting? Because this has been an issue since they did their stand for your full 90. The sitting versus standing sections and issues.
Sitting versus standing came up a lot in the year-end questions.
Yes.
It's something I would like to see
addressed.
I would like to see a work group around it for the Alliance Council to get involved in that, because it impacts every Alliance member. So I would like to see.
No, finally, it doesn't involve me, because I'm sitting in this row that doesn't matter if I sit or stand.
Yeah,
because they moved me there on purpose, so I shut up.
I take row 1, seat 1. Anybody gets in my way, I blow a gasket.
Yeah.
No, I would like to see us involved in the sitting versus standing question.
I
think we should be involved in that. We're not ever going to make everybody happy, but we should be involved in coming up with a solution. But as far as more affordability, the charter actually specifically prohibits us from making comments and being involved in pricing. But there are MLS requires a specific, I think, a percentage of seats that are within a price range, et cetera. But again, it's still a business, and people are never going to be satisfied with their ticket prices.
No.
So the only way you're going to get to affordability is if you give up your seats and move to the ones that are affordable.
Absolutely.
And people aren't going to want to do
But
that.
I think what he wants is a sitting, because right now the prawn sandwich seats, as they call them, right, the club seats are sitting for the most part, because it's quote unquote majority rules or whatever other BS you want to hear on a daily basis from them. It's one of the issues for me. It still hurts me, even though it doesn't affect me anymore at all. But I think what he's asking for is let's make 331 a sitting section. 331 is a crappy section. Well, it's not crap. It is far away, and it's cheaper than it is to sit in 131, right, for instance.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what he's asking. And I'm not saying you're going to answer this.
Yeah,
but I get
I
where he's
can't
coming
answer
from.
that, but I think we need to be. I think the
Involved in it.
council needs to let's have a voluntary work group. Let's get involved in that conversation.
Yep.
The question came up a whole bunch of times. It
Whole
comes up
bunch.
every year. So let's.
I didn't ask it
take
this
on,
year.
Let's take on the question. I mean, I take pictures of my feet propped up on the bar with my drink, and there's the goal right there. There's Michael Spurning's butt, and there's my feet, and that's why it's worth the money. However, there's going to come a point in time where I can't afford those seats anymore, and I'm going to need a place to sit because my back can't take it. And when I travel with supporter groups, and I'm jumping the whole damn time, and then I can't move the next day. I mean, when you've been in a couple of collisions, 90 minutes on cement is not a lot of fun.
No. One of the issues this year was Match Pass. Wow, I said Match Pass, and oh my
Swearing,
God.
you're swearing at
Holy
me.
was like,
crap.
her eyes.
You're swearing at me.
I barely said Match
I'm
Pass.
scared over here. Don't take it out on me, Gramps. Don't take it out on me.
One of the issues was in 2014, you could have real beer for $6, and in 2016 they had piss water, whereas in Grand Theft Auto they call it piss water, but they basically had Budweiser as the only option.
Yeah.
And if you drink Budweiser at a soccer game or a sporting event, just buy a bottle of water.
It's America, man.
So that's one of the issues was the beer prices. So one person asked about beer prices. I'm not asking you to answer that question, but Match Pass in general, I think again, and this is somebody who's bitched about me about Match Pass for years.
No, really? Can I eat another cupcake?
Gotta
You can
go.
have all the cupcakes you want. Here you go.
It's got to go to maturity.
Oh, never mind. They're over here.
It takes time to get maturity. But I know you guys were asked a bazillion questions. Is there anything in Match Pass world that you can talk about or answer or address?
What I can talk about is so this is Megan West, and she's a wonderful person to work
great
with.
person.
And I let you guys read my answers.
Yep.
And one of the things I said is that it's going to be far more helpful for us to engage in a conversation that is from the ground up, create what we think is going to work rather than bitch about what we don't like. And one of the things that I can't even participate in Match Pass, and so that angers a bunch of the people.
Right,
in
because
my
you're
group.
in the suites.
Yeah, so I'd like to see something that works for our people too, but create something that we think is going to work, that people will help. But one of the complaints that I hear is that it's an auction program, not a rewards program. So I think that's something that we can take on. The key is for us to just get involved from the perspective of let's be proactive and let's set aside the anger and let's start creating something that we believe is going to work. And I think if it needs to be a $7 good beer and $6 isn't going to work for the club, then they're not going to support $6. So is it going to be $7? Is it going to be $7.50? What is going to work?
Yeah.
And what's the right time frame? And let's figure something out.
Yeah, because what they're trying to do, they're trying to bring you in to actually get some money, as opposed to all of us going out and spending all our
Grandma
money
had a
outside the bars.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
Hugo, you want to stay involved in the show for a minute? Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
Okay, wait. We'll ask a question in a minute.
Got it.
Thank you. Sorry.
So, so all these things are possible. What the Alliance Council can actually take on is going to be limited, truly, to the resources we have on the council, and we've got a really small council next year. So that's a challenge.
So, yeah, that's a great comment, because you can't answer and fix everything in 1 year.
We
and
can't.
You gotta
We're-
be.
We've got less than 30 people next year. So, I need people who can show up with decent business brains, who are willing to get involved and move conversations forward, to be there on First Tuesdays. But that means that they take ownership of a situation and move the conversation forward, not say, I want somebody to do this and then sit there and look at me.
Yeah.
I can't
It's
do
the
it. I
old
can't
Homer
do anymore.
Simpson,
I worked,
right.
I work a hell of a lot in my job, and then I worked every weekend. So this Alliance Council was bigger than a work project last year. I can't do that next year.
Which is why we need good candidates.
Yeah.
And you've done a good job laying the groundwork. You built the foundation. Now you need to build upon that foundation. So that's good. Okay.
All
right.
So if people are willing to do that, they need to take tablets into the stadium, get their votes.
Right, and people need to be willing to volunteer their game day and sacrifice some of that to do that.
Well, just get their votes. I mean, meetings are first
sorry, for
Tuesdays.
votes. I'm sorry,
yeah,
but
just
I'm talking about
get their votes. But the best way to get your votes is to bring a tablet into the stadium, get your votes in your own seating section, and
Correct.
talk to people.
Yep.
But if you're nervous and you're not willing to walk around and talk to people, I'm not sure Alliance Council's for you.
Right.
You need to be able to walk around and talk to people.
It's a great comment.
Yeah.
All right, Hugo. All you.
Looking out for grandma, man. Not me. I'm looking out for grandma.
You're going to have to repeat it. It's really hard to hear her.
My whole-
coming from that side.
My whole issue with Match Pass is how do some people get 50,000 points? I have 3 seats. I go early every game. I got everything. But then I go to 10 away games. They give me a code. I can only, even though there's 2 of us have gone to the away games, I can only get credit for 1. And I don't know how all these people get, these 50,000 points and everything from Match Pass when I'm there every game. I don't ever miss a game. I buy concessions at the game, and it doesn't seem fair when there's 2 of us that go to away games, and we can't get credit for it.
Yeah, that's why we need to start over.
No question.
But do you buy
people that get all kinds of points, they wait for the 24th hour and 1 minute and tweet something. It's like,
But do you buy a fair amount of stuff and use your Match Pass? Do you swipe your Match Pass when you buy things? Yes. So that's what's weird is because this year I have 4 seats. I got 35,000 points total for the whole year. Granted, like 17 out of the 17 games I got 0 points because Match Pass never works when you actually try and use it, and you have to call up and ask for help. I mean, I'm joking, obviously. But like 3 or 4 of the games over the summer, I got no points for it. And then when I go to a concession, I don't. But we bought almost nothing this year, so I had very little extra points.
Yeah.
Every point I earned this year was all about my attendance at the game.
Yeah, and my tickets are $4,000, and I cannot participate.
Right, which
so,
is dumb.
so
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Forget
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so.
She answered my question from an hour and a half ago, finally.
That's
Yes. I got it!
I had 40,000 points this year.
Total? With 3 tickets?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
so
Yeah.
I don't.
You had more points than I did, though.
But
With
how?
4.
How? And I mean, I bought stuff. I bought a fair amount of products and stuff.
It
How do
needs
people
to be
get 100,000
reinvented.
points?
Yeah, it just needs to be because they tweet like maniacs and they Facebook and they do all kinds of stuff, and it just needs to be reinvented
Yeah.
for the person that has a life. Yeah, it needs to be recreated for the person who has a life.
Let's ask Fody. Where's Fody? Where'd he go?
He left.
2013. Oh.
He's out getting Match Pass points.
Yeah, he went somewhere to get back.
That's it.
He's getting Match Pass points. The comment of the night right there. That's awesome. All right. It's a Match Pass should be amazing.
Yeah,
And I
so
think it could be, and it will be. I think it will be.
I think if you get too many people involved, you'll kill it. So
Yes.
let's get 3 or 4 smart people involved in creating
Yep.
something that's going to work
Yep.
for different levels of participation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's
And-
the key is we need to have a targeted auction for people who have 10,000 and under, people who
Yeah,
have 10 to
and-
20,000 or 20 to 30. There's
And
got to be
I
segments.
think if you take a look at what Omaze is doing, and people get to win instead of auctioning and
Yeah.
they're buying, they're winning.
Yeah.
Right here, you get
They reach milestones.
You get 10 chances to win. You get 100 chances to win. Do that instead.
Yep.
Then nobody feels left out.
That's right.
And if you do that, then my group has the opportunity to participate too.
That's
right?
good. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think like anything, man, we'll never please everybody, man.
You'll never please everybody. I think
No.
that's
Exactly.
right. You
Yeah.
nailed
So
it.
You'll
You
never
nailed it.
do it.
Give up on that idea.
I did. I
and
gave
off
up
we
on
go.
on Match Pass.
Although
I've
those,
never.
Those cupcakes are making you pretty damn happy.
Yeah,
over
yeah.
there.
I'll never give up on your cupcakes. Never. They're delicious.
Jerry just tweets #Sounders, and that's how he got to be
Exactly.
Fody.
That's right. That's right. Every 20 minutes.
Oh my God, that's actually kind of perfect.
That's hilarious.
Follow Jerry. Do what he does.
Yeah.
Stephanie, what are your plans for 2016 council?
My plans for 2016 council are to be there. That's it.
To be
so
there.
after that.
Oh, so you're going to be a true president.
Well, no,
#lazy.
Well, I'm
No,
not.
I'm
so
kidding.
that's what
forward.
I'm not the 2016 president. So that there's an election. So I have another year on my term.
So
but
you're saying
there's
I
an
gotta be
election.
you're saying I gotta be redone up just so I can vote for you again?
Well, I don't even know if I'm gonna run. So.
Oh,
that is-
Oh, breaking news!
So,
breaking news.
I think we broke
mean-
Stephanie. We broke Stephanie.
We broke Stephanie. Nobody breaks Stephanie.
Whoa. And now it
So
got awkward.
That's
That was her negotiating
nobody-
face right
so
there.
Yeah.
I haven't decided. I
Okay.
haven't decided yet. I mean, I have goals for council. I have things that are important, but I haven't decided if I'm
Okay.
going to do that again, and I
Fair
can
enough.
still work on those whether I'm president or not.
Yeah.
But so there are. I want the blog to continue because it really has appeared to have resonated with a lot of people.
Huge.
I would like to get us to a point in time where we have a budget, but we're not ready yet. And clearly, standing versus sitting is important to people, or not that many people would have sent the question in. And Match Pass is really important to people,
Yep.
or not that many people would have sent
Right.
the question in. So I really would like us to take those things on next year, but I can't make council do that, no matter what my role is. So my plans for council next year are to be there, and then we'll see.
Okay. Can you guys fix injuries?
God, yeah. How many questions?
no.
Over,
There are-
under, how many questions did the council
There are a
get on
couple I
that?
would have liked to try.
Oh.
Hello.
Professional masseuse over here. Yeah. How many questions? Yeah, Hugo asked. How many questions would you, percentage-wise? Was it like 90% of the questions were about injuries, or 100%?
About Emmys.
There were a ton of questions about injuries and a ton of questions about turf, playing
Yeah.
surface, whatever. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing you can do about that. You
All right,
know?
so-
And then the question: why do you let people ask these questions every year? Because you send them in.
Do you guys have any last questions? Kyle, you want to go first?
Kyle, go first. No, go first, man.
Kyle's first.
What would you recommend to people to do to help Alliance Council, and what can we do to get the information out there for you, and I guess make it more the public more aware of what you guys do?
Somebody needs to designate you on their account and get your ass on the council, because we can get you 25 votes in 24
No
hours
question.
or less. So
The
that
scout.
just needs to
I
happen.
appreciate
Kyle, the scout.
Yeah,
Ooh,
you're,
that's happening.
You're phenomenal.
Thank you.
When you meet somebody who would be good, who's thoughtful, who has a good brain, and I don't mean just a good business brain, although that is important, but is thoughtful about the whole picture, is thoughtful about the whole stadium, is thoughtful about considering multiple points of view. That's a really good person to say, would you run for council? Would you be interested in doing something like that? When I wrote the blog, Lawyers and Writers and Prayers, oh my, I really dove into some of the positions and the types of things that we need to get accomplished on the council.
Okay.
We only have one attorney on the council, and I dumped too much on him, and he's been great about it. But there are a couple of reasons we need more than one. Different perspective would be helpful,
Right.
but there's going to come a point in time when he doesn't have time, and we get
Right.
held up, and it would be much better to have at least a couple in every position. So anytime you run into somebody that could be good at positions like that would be great. I recruited somebody who used to work for CNN and Fox Sports locally. He was the VP for Fox Sports locally.
Nice.
And he's got great contacts with Univision.
Sweet.
And
Me
I'll
gusta. Me
introduce you.
gusta.
Yeah, I'll introduce you. I think he'd be once he at least gets 6 months under his belt on council, it would be phenomenal to have him as a guest. And I was recruiting an attorney, and then the guy had to go and get married. He was really busy. I mean, can you believe crap like that? I swear, these people that have personal lives.
How lame.
I know.
How lame.
It's ridiculous stuff.
Don't they
I'll
know
never
Sounders
understand.
first?
Yeah.
Chief Technology Officer from Microsoft. I'm really excited to have him on council, and so he's got
Nice.
budgeting stuff. He's got some technology stuff he can
Let's
bring
go.
to the table. So I'm excited about a lot of the people, a lot of our newbies, and then there are some that I haven't met yet, but I've read their profiles, and so I've got a writer coming on, and it's like great. So some of the burden
Right.
On the blog.
is
Yeah.
gonna help. I mean, just to have. I mean, so many of the blogs were written by me, but that's not fair to everybody else because they're reading only my voice. And that there's so many more voices on the Alliance Council and so many more perspectives on the Alliance Council that people should get to hear from. And then Tom Kephart, who's director of marketing for Amazon, that's going to be phenomenal to have him on the council as he learns, different avenues to get our information out there. So that's going to be helpful. So anytime you meet somebody where you think that person would be a great contributor to the Alliance Council, recruit them.
Yeah.
Which I just heard her say, though. I just want to be clear. 5 minutes ago, she said, I'm not sure if I'm running or not. But then she said, my council, in a good way, in a positive way. In a positive way.
I said
I know. I'm not saying it in a negative way. That's a positive comment, okay? You said...
I was drinking.
Yes.
I was drinking.
No.
Another shot.
Yeah, she's drinking water.
Another shot.
Water. But you
drinking.
But you said it, and again, I'm
I'm
not
a
calling you
lightweight.
out. But
Water,
you said
even
it
water gets
very, very much it's a we. But you said
Yes.
it as the
You're proud of
council,
it.
my
It's something
council,
that you're
et cetera,
involved
in a
with and
good
you're
way. In a good
passionate
way.
about.
I know.
It's his council.
It is your council, but so anyway, I hope you're back. I hope you come back.
do I.
Hugo, last question
No, I mean,
or last comment.
Thank you. Thank you for being
thank
here.
you guys.
Thank you for the cupcakes. Thank you for taking the time, your notes, and sharing with us the numbers, the percentages, especially the cupcakes.
Yeah,
but
thank you for doing the blog and taking
you're
on
very
the president
welcome.
role.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
And fighting for the council, it's an important and unique thing to the Sounders, and I think the more people understand, the more they're exposed to it, the more they'll invest into it. So, thank you for doing that.
You're very, very welcome.
My last comment is thank you for. Yeah, I enjoyed being on the council with you. Unfortunately for the limited time, but I think you are an absolute rock star in what you do and who you are. And I know you and I talked offline quite a bit, and you made a lot of comments about being nervous or being, you're not, even though you should never have this thing. But again, I've got a 12-year-old daughter who is also a very strong woman already, but I also see it in her. Just the confidence. You have confidence. You're a great person in what you do professionally and personally. Don't ever be afraid. I know you're not. You say you are, but you're humble. You're good. You're awesome. We love you. Thank you for what you are.
Thank you
I
so
love you. I
much.
mean, that's if I could have my daughter grow up and be somebody, it'd be someone like you. So thank you.
Let's
for
go.
who you
So
are.
much.
So.
I thought we would run out of shit to talk about by.
Oh no,
by
we are actually
8 o'clock.
we are actually almost 2 hours in. It's 9:30 almost.
This is as long as the Ross episode.
And we have a lot more we could go in, but we're gonna end it here. I want to apologize for all those of you watching live and/or watching post. I don't know. I probably won't be able to fix many of the issues
But
we had.
thank you to all the supporters on Patreon, because that's exactly where we're going to go with to
Yes.
take care of it. So,
But we had
thank
some
you,
issues
everybody.
technology-wise. Thank you again for being patient. We'll work on fixing those for next year. We have 2 more shows this year. We are doing a show next week with Kelly.gov, at Kelly.gov. Kelly does a podcast with some of the KJR folks. Karate Emergency, I think it's called.
That's the one.
She is another strong woman in the sports field. She's a super fan.
Yeah.
I would call her a sports fan. So I'm looking
And
forward
she
to having her.
represents soccer fans on that podcast.
She
I've
does.
heard her a few times. The rest of the crew, I mean, they're not soccer fans,
Not
so
at
they
all.
don't talk about it a lot. But she makes sure to bring it up, which, which is
Good
cool.
for her.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about having that next week.
Yay her.
And then the 21st, that's the 14th. And then the 21st, we're going to kind of have a community event. And so I haven't talked to the folks behind the supporters' stories about this yet. But what I was thinking about doing that night is just kind of talking a little bit about our 2015 and 2016. Because Sarah started tweeting out tonight about what she wants to do in 2016 soccer-wise. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of piggyback on that. And we have a whole crowd coming in, a whole bunch of people. People are making cookies, et cetera, et cetera. We're just going to have a fun little down here, so come out. We'll just enjoy ourselves.
Potluck.
He won't be invited back, for sure.
Yeah, no way.
The Folly. Folly.
Folly 2013.
But just kind of come out and hang out and talk, and that'll be our last show of the year, the 21st. We never do a show that week, but it was a chance for people that are out of school, out of whatever, to come down and kind of just hang out. So it'll be a nice little, a potluck, maybe without food, obviously, but
Oh,
but
you said people were bringing
cupcakes and stuff. Yeah, desserts. But it'll be more of a community ending of the night.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. But again, Stephanie, thank you for coming
Thank
out.
you.
It was a pleasure.
Good work on the
Amazing.
Alliance
Very
Council so
much.
far.
My favorite guest to sit next to all year long.
What? Nobody else snuggles with you?
Not the way you do.
Ross did.
Not the way you do.
You and Ross did.
Ross is, yeah, I think he was cool,
I'm
but
getting,
he's
I'm getting
but
jealous.
he's no staff.
Ross was still scruffy though. That was
Yeah,
you know,
No cupcakes though.
So on that note, thank you all for watching. They're going to get a room. We're out.
Whoa!
Hey, this is Alexi Lawless, and although I have no soul, I know about heart. And heart means you listen to SonarFeed.